Welcome to Clutter Bravado.
Yes, and it's the energy. It's not just about the stuff.
So we should probably just get into it, right?
Let's go. Good morning, Elyse.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm really good. We have a really exciting day ahead.
Mm-hmm.
We have a really incredible guest on today,
Jaime Rummerfield.
Jaime Rummerfield.
Well,
You know, your accent.
Yeah,
I got you.
she's forgiven me. Yeah, she's coming.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
She does some really incredible work, and I'm really excited to dig into that. But before we do that, how are you?
I'm very well.
Yeah?
Thank you. I am enjoying the summer. My daughter and her partner came down, so we spent, a few days touring, doing very LA things. But we went to the Broad, which was absolutely
nice.
fantastic.
Yeah.
It was nice to see American art and, specifically California art being displayed that well and giving it its due. And I was really happy with that.
That's awesome. You guys went to the beach too, didn't you?
Yes.
You got a little sun.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I also got a little sunburned.
Oh, really?
But
Okay.
we won't talk about that.
I'm not judging.
I also went to Erewhon and waited for 35 minutes for a smoothie without even complaining. It felt like completely natural.
You're really a California guy.
I know I'm going to lose my passport soon. Gotta start smoking again or something.
No, don't do that.
They're not going to let me back in.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
All right. I think they will.
Yeah. I mean, you're cooking.
I am cooking.
You're cooking.
That's it. I'm off the hook.
You're off
okay,
the
I
hook.
can keep going having smoothies at Erewhon as long as I cook.
They'll still let you back in France as long as you're cooking. Yeah.
I cooked today for lunch.
That's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
We can't even talk about tomato sorbet. We can't talk about that right now.
No,
No.
we'll just talk about it later. After. It's really good.
Ooh. Okay. So
What about you? You had a big trip.
I did have a big trip. I went to New York. I visited my boyfriend out there, and it was wonderful. I had such a good time. I got to sort of go around to a bunch of different neighborhoods that I haven't been to there before. Also, this was my first time in New York during the summer. Every time I've gone there has been in the fall or it's been in like the dead of winter. And for a long time, I did not like New York. And I hate to say this, but I like New York.
Mm-hmm.
I like it there.
Oh, it's fun there.
I had a really good time. We did a million different things. We did not a lot of like touristy stuff, but I did spend like 2 nights hanging out around the Times Square area, which I would not recommend.
Yeah, no, Times Square,
It's
probably not.
Awful. It's awful. It reminds me a lot of Hollywood Boulevard here.
Yeah.
Where when I first moved to LA, I went to Hollywood Boulevard on my first day, like first full day. And I just walked it and I said, well, and now I've done that, so I never have to do that again. There are some places I like to hang out down there, but like it's not really for me. But yeah, I got to hang out in one of the villages. I don't know the geography.
I can't help you. I'm the same way.
I'm so bad with this.
People are like, the meatpacking district, I have no idea, but it's down there.
No idea. I just did a very
the
French
island.
thing.
You're spending too much time with
I
me.
know. I'm spending way too much time with you. But there was some drama with my trip. I had to come home early because my dog ran away. I have a 65-pound pit shepherd beagle mix that didn't want to stay with the sitter. He's a rescue. He's deeply traumatized. He's been through a lot. And it was an accident. It truly was. Like, he just, like, pulled off of the leash, and the leash wasn't attached, like, tight enough. And he just went off running. But we got him back. I left a day early to fly home. Just worst flight. Bad experience on the plane. There was a big storm over Oklahoma, so we had to, like, divert to, like, go around it. Turbulence the entire time. I'm an anxious flyer. And then I got home and I was even more anxious because my dog wasn't there. But I've had this experience before. when I first got him, he ran away. And it was tricky to get him back. But I worked with an animal search and rescue specialist, and we were able to locate him. We were able to get him. And she taught me a lot of tips about how to get my dog back. So I used a lot of those, helped my dog sitter, and got him back.
And you got a lot of support. I mean, your community rallied.
The entire community rallied around it.
And that was kind of impressive.
And there's something that's really special about the Valley. And I'm like, just in like the, in like the general like Valley Village, North Hollywood, Studio City, Toluca Lake area, that area, it's really lovely. There are a lot of wonderful people there. And everyone really, really rallied together. And everyone in the neighborhood knows my dog's name now.
Yeah, apparently so.
Everybody does.
But so the lesson is that if someone's dog runs away, there's a good chance that you can get him back.
Yeah.
There are people that are specialized in helping out, which
there
was
are.
really impressive.
Yes.
And then, the one good thing about social media is that a lot of people rallied. And
you can get a message out really quickly.
So that was a good thing. So there are positive things. I've learned that, when your dog runs away, you can get him back, which was really heartwarming when you texted me, I got him. It felt really good.
That was all that I could say. Like I had so many people that were texting and calling and checking in, or they were like, I just saw him or whatever it was. And as soon as I got him in the car, I took that picture.
Yep.
And he's fully just smiling, just beaming.
Yeah, but I think he's completely aware that he fucked up, though.
He knows.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he knows. He also knows that now, like since he's been home and he was healing, and because he had his paws were really raw after running on pavement, and I stayed at home with him and just cuddled him for a few days, and then but now he's starting to he's walking around. I took him to the park yesterday for the first time since he ran away, and he's so good on the leash all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
He's chilled out. He let my neighbor pet him.
See?
I know. I don't know what's going on. I think he just needed to have his big adventure, and then he's like, you know what? I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and be a normal dog now.
Smart dog. He's learning.
Maybe.
Who said that you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
Look at you.
I know.
Look at you.
No, look at me. Talk about it. I'm talking about things I know.
Mm-hmm. I didn't mean to call you an old dog.
No, but it's all right.
But I did insinuate it pretty strongly. And I don't think I'm wrong.
You know what? I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Okay. But I'm learning.
Yes, you are. You're not used to being on camera at all.
Do you think?
And you're nailing it. You're doing a really good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for the support.
Here for you. Okay. We need to talk about homework real quick. So last week you had me read O.P. by Oliver Firth. Love this book, and I'm really curious what you have for me today.
So today I selected Andre Putman.
Ooh.
So we'll do a little bit of California contemporary or U.S. contemporary. We'll
the Oliver
European,
Firth was definitely that California vibe.
Is an amazing period in French design. I mean, she started really in 60s. She's been influential, and until her passing away in the 90s. She was quintessential French elegance. Also, in a period of time where she knew Jean-Paul Gaultier or Andy Warhol, so there's this aura or era, that was just so creative, so has a big influence on us now.
Yeah.
But yeah, she represents a lot of that elegance of French design of that period. She's multi-talented. She had, Eckhart, which was an editor of furniture. She did amazing residential design, and she also did some big commissions. She did one of the offices for the Minister of Culture, Jacques Lang.
Oh,
in the
wow.
80s. Yeah. So she really,
This is her with Andy Warhol right here.
yeah, epitomizes the
Wow.
a whole period of French design that I adore, and that has we still are influenced by it. So
Yeah.
I also love that on her book. She's her portrait with a cigarette. I find that
This is the most French
I
thing I
think
think I've ever
yeah
seen.
I think that I really am attracted to that. You
Yeah, it's
know,
just looking mean, smoking cigarettes.
yeah. There's that je ne sais quoi, je m'en fous, and I like that. It's like okay. Um,
Oh, I love it. Okay,
So yeah, you
okay.
can read. You can look at the
I
photos.
know I'm
I
looking at
mean,
the photos. I always do this
there's
first, but
some. It's fun to read a little bit of her biography because it puts you back into that period of time that was.
oh, wow.
I found it pretty magical.
Yeah.
That was an amazing period. I think that
Mhm.
we're living an amazing period of design right now, be it in
Mhm.
France or so it's like it's not like one or the other, but
Mhm.
this one is fun to read through and
Okay.
imagine, and I just can't imagine Studio 54 and
Yeah.
Einsteiger. Like there's a whole history and vibe that I'm dreaming a little bit. Yeah,
I love it.
cool.
Okay, I'm gonna get into her.
Yeah, get into it.
Andre,
It's
is it Andre?
Andre, yeah,
Andre
Putman.
Putman.
Yeah, get into it. It's really fun.
We love an it girl.
Yeah. So
Beautiful. Okay, well then I will dig deep into this. And speaking of books though, I want to bring out the book for our next guest.
the book that Ron and Jamie did.
Ron and Jamie did High Style. This is from 2008.
Yep.
And it is so 2008 and I love every bit of it. It's really incredible. So let's talk about Jamie. So Jamie Rummerfield is going to be on this episode. We're interviewing her, talking about some of the things that she's been working on with SIA, which is Save Iconic Architecture. I'm so excited to dig into that. She has this, like her own style as a designer is a blend of very vintage influence, this like iconic like Hollywood Regency, but also with a lot of color and really contemporary, no matter where she's at, like where we're at as a society. Letting go of a lot of the trends and sort of going to things that are really iconic. Does that make sense? Is that a
Hmm.
good description of her?
Yeah.
How would you describe some of her work?
Jamie impresses me because she's yeah. I mean, it is what you're saying. She has a broad knowledge of different periods. She has a deep respect for her work that she's doing is. It's putting LA architect on the forefront and recognizing the great value and the masters that worked in the city. And she has a deep knowledge of that. She has a deep knowledge of the different periods. She is able
brilliant,
to,
yeah.
use vintage, use new, high, low. I mean, she's just a really good designer with a lot of knowledge. She's mentored quite a few of
Yeah.
successful designers now. So she's happy to share, happy to educate. She does a lot of work like that, and you'll have an amazing conversation, or we'll have an amazing conversation with her.
Yeah, I'm so excited to get to know her more. So we should probably just get into it, right?
Let's go.
Okay. Welcome to Clutter Bravado. Today we are here with Jamie Rummerfield. She is the founder of Rummerfields.
Yep.
Yes.
My interior design office.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And also you've been named one of the top 25 most influential Angelinos.
Yep. Here in LA.
And also you have an incredible foundation called SIA, and I'm really interested in getting into that.
Yes.
Because you are changing the way that Los Angeles interacts with its history, and I think that's really incredible. It's so fun. So, how are you feeling?
I'm
First?
great.
Yeah?
I'm so happy to be here with the both of you and just to talk about shop and design and all that's happening here in LA.
Where are you coming from today?
I live in Highland Park.
Okay.
And my office is in Silver Lake. And
Oh, wonderful.
it is actually in Richard Neutra, the architect's original architecture office.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a really cool historic building. And because of the work that we do with Save Iconic Architecture, I've got to know Raymond Neutra, his last living son, and we have collaborated, and he's invited me to be a part of the office there and have a studio space. So it's really cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to talk first about sort of how you got into this, and we can focus more on the Save Iconic Architecture as well. How did you start to get like sink your teeth into wanting to save these iconic buildings? So let's real quick, Save Iconic Architecture. You intervene when historic landmarks and architectural monuments of any kind in the city are starting to be compromised, or that someone wants to buy it out and develop it into a hideous condo building.
Right. At least we try, you know. I think being an interior designer here in Los Angeles, I'm in the field so much and see so many amazing buildings, whether it's in the private sector behind closed gates or just even driving around town. Even this building we're in is so historic, which is the Talmadge on Wilshire. And I think over time I started realizing and seeing clients who would buy a beautiful estate, an old Hollywood home or mansion, and be like, oh, it's too small, we're going to tear it down. And we're talking Wallace Neff, Paul Williams, even Richard Neutra, just properties that are so historic and actually classic architecture, world-class architecture. And I thought, oh my gosh, just people just either they just don't know, or the city isn't aware of how much destruction is happening. And so I've contacted the city and realized, wow, our preservation programs are really lax, like super limited. In fact, kind of this unwritten message with the city of LA is their standpoint is we are not experts in architecture, so we rely on the community to bring forth notable properties that should be basically saved or landmarked. And unfortunately, the community did not get that memo. So nobody knows that it's abdicated to us as everyday citizens to bring it to the city. And it's a really lazy approach, in my opinion,
it seems like that.
especially for a metropolis like LA. So that's where Save Iconic Architecture began, as a groundswell of like awareness, education on architecture in LA, and what can we do different and hold the city a little more accountable. So that's what a lot of our initiatives are working towards.
That's
basically.
amazing.
And do you feel that more and more people are aware of it now, that there's this movement of like really preserving our history here?
I do. I'm amazed with like how much support we get as an organization, especially a nonprofit. We all are volunteers, our board, me, and we do community events at notable places, interesting architectural tours, and our biggest outreach is on social media, and we just post on current events or interesting architecture throughout our city. And the response is huge. And I think it does kind of put it in the forefront, like this is something special. Once it's gone, it's lost forever. And so how can we be more mindful and in protecting our heritage as well as our design history? So I think people really enjoy that information for sure.
Yeah. So you are responsible for saving Marilyn Monroe's Brentwood home.
It was a big coalition of organizations, but what we do, we're a lot of times a big whistleblower because we're either already in the field and we've gotten to a point with our status online where any little like sound of a issue, people contact us. Because that was my issue when I or back in the early 2000s, and where there was no one to call. Like you can't call the design police. Like hey, someone's tearing this John Elgin Wolfe down. It was really frustrating actually, and so at least we're a place that people can go and they kind of flag like, hey, on my street this is happening. And so it's really interesting. And so of course we got this anonymous tip that the demo permit had gone in to the city, which is Los Angeles Building and Safety Department, and our Office of Historic Resources are like over here on the right side, and Building and Safety, who issues demo permits, are over here. They don't really talk to each other.
Whoa.
And so it's a parcel number. So it doesn't say Marilyn Monroe's house. It's just an address at a parcel. And so they're like, sure, demo. And so the demo permit, that becomes public record. And so immediately we posted, like, there's a demolition permit. And we really are neutral with our information. We would just share what is happening. And so there's a demolition permit. This is a cultural resource. It really should not be demoed. And the only person who can save it or put a stay on once a demo permit's issued, it's almost too late at that point, typically. And the only people who can really change that status is the council person of that jurisdiction. And that person is Tracy Park. It's District 11. And so, and this is what we've learned over time just by trial and error and working with the city closely. You can contact them to ask them or demand for a stay on this permit. And most council members are actually pretty agreeable. Like they want to know why or what is the status of this building or why it's so significant. And obviously this goes without explanation. It's Marilyn Monroe's house. Yeah. It was the only home she owned. Actually, even the architect who did build it had some, other cultural monuments under his belt. And so it's a golden Spanish era bungalow in Brentwood that's really fabulous. And it's the only home she owned and loved and passed away in. Yeah. And so it is what is Hollywood without Marilyn Monroe?
Exactly.
So that's like everyone's link to her, the closest link that you've got that still is alive and standing and has a presence. And so she saw that and agreed, and we posted, because many people always are, I want to sign a petition, or what can we do is a big question. Mm-hmm. And so we just put it into action. It was a call to action. If you want to save Marilyn Monroe's house, this is what you do. You contact Tracy Park's office and demand she puts a stay. And we contacted her too many times. And finally the person, on the phone was like, we are just so flooded with thousands and thousands of emails and calls. We are doing this within 24 hours, she had an emergency stay on the demo permit, and it would save the house, and that is what saved the house. Yeah. And with that groundswell, the Conservancy, which is Los Angeles Conservancy, is the largest conservancy in the country, which is awesome, but they're also very busy, doing many things. And so if we can at least kind of put something in the forefront and put urgency in it, that's what we're good at, because we're more nimble as an organization and really focus on that. So we just kept promoting that call to action, and it made a huge difference. And then it took a village to just make it all happen. So we're really proud of that.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
How did it get to that point in the first place, where someone wanted to, if you had Marilyn Monroe's house, why on earth would you demo it in the first place?
I know. That's a great question, because I think most people would cherish it and just be such great stewards. And it has had many wonderful stewards in the past who have maintained it and restored it even. And so I think this particular owner who lived next door bought it under the radar, knowing that there would probably be some backlash with the plans. They wanted to expand their house, and so, which every owner has the right to do. Sure. And so I just don't think some people just don't have a care about the history or the past or even celebrity that way. Yeah. So, but it's more than that. It is a big cultural resource to our city. So that's where we stay in our lane with our mission. But it's it really fell into that category for us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you have, when you first got into this, did you have the first building, what was the first piece of architecture that you were like, oh no, I need to save this?
Oh my gosh. There's a few, and it was kind of like a build up to where you'd see something happen, but what can you do? And then tragically it's gone, and it's like, and then it just keeps happening. So one day I was with Ron Woodson, who we were business partners almost 19 years with our design office. And it was a really incredible time in LA. It's like early 2000s, and up until the 2020s. And in that time frame, so much has changed, even with our vernacular in LA. But we're both LA natives and really understand the story of our city when it comes to architecture. And so we were with a realtor who we were looking for a double lot for a client who wanted to build a family compound. And in Beverly Hills, that's rare to get a double lot, You have to tear something down. And so she said, I'm going to take you to the top of the Bird Streets, and I'll show you an opportunity where you can maybe build this dream like compound. And so we drove up these hills and we parked, and she's like, see, on the top of that hill, there's a crappy Neutra up there, and you can tear it down, and it's a whole big. And I looked at Ron. I was in the front seat and he was in the back seat. And I just like looked at him, and when you work with someone that long, you can kind of read each other's mind. And I was just like, oh my! And I said, oh, can we go see it? And yeah, so we went up there, and sure enough, it was one of Richard Neutra's top 10 works. It's called the Chewy House. It's been in private domain forever. It was the original owners, so no one in the public could even be on the property. I've never seen it in person, so it was a real treat to see it in person. And Joseph Chewy was an artist who, Josephine Chewy, his wife, I should say, she was an artist. They were both artists, and she commissioned Gregory Ain first, the architect, and then that didn't work out, and she commissioned Richard Neutra to do this house on the highest hilltop of the Bird Streets, basically, Sunset Plaza area. High. So you have a 360 view of downtown Malibu in the valley, like crazy view, like above the clouds, insane. And the shot, you'll definitely have to feature the shot. It's by Julius Schulman. It's one of the most famous shots. It's a black and white shot, and there's these reflecting pools and just the cantilevering of both horizontal and vertical planes. It's a night shot, and it's just this epic shot of Richard Neutra's work, and it's the Chewy House. So everyone knows it, but I had never seen it in person. And so we go up there, and sure enough, Mrs. Chewy had passed away. Mr. Chewy, he originally was in a car accident in the 1970s and had his painting studio in this house, and tragically passed away. And there was probably like 300 paintings just there in the house, and she never moved them. She just kept them exactly pretty much how he left it. And over time, she would do like artists in residence or things at her house, which was still a magical like artist studio. And then she passed away, and they didn't have any children, so it went on the market, and their niece had inherited it or something. I mean, this is at least what we were told. And so it was being just sold as the land, not the house, because it was really in one owner, kind of a hoarder type situation. But an art hoarder, or as Ron and I called it, a high-end hoarder. And and it was just like this trove, this treasure trove, and we got to go in and see it all. And it was just we actually do have some of this on film. I should share it with you.
Yeah, please do.
So
we'll put it in. We'll put it in for sure.
And so I looked at her and Ron. I was like, you can't tear this house down. This is a piece of architectural, like modern history by Richard Neutra. Like it is art, a piece of art. And they're like, oh, it's in such bad shape. And that's always the excuse, I think, with realtors or even developers. Like, oh, it's too much, like too far gone. Like it's not salvageable, which is not true. And so I said I was so obsessed with like saving it that of course I called the Conservancy. And we just again started to get just help to bring awareness to this house. And what we do with Save Iconic Architecture, we write the landmark submissions, which is kind of the first step. Getting a council member involved is a more swift what we had learned later on, because this was kind of our first effort. And so I remember I had to write the nomination. You had to submit photos of the inside and the outside, and we didn't have any, and so the realtor was a friend of mine, but I really just, we were looking desperately for someone to buy it, but it was $14 million. And but you never know in LA, like we know so many people. It's like someone needs to invest in this house. It's a piece, it's priceless, really. It's a collector's piece. And so our historian, he's like, I need to get shots. I'm like, okay, well, you come over and we'll take some shots. And they were kind of hush-hush about it because, again, it was a pocket listing, because they knew, this is the thing, people do pocket listings on this these type of works because they know it's important, but they don't want to deal with all the landmarking and all the kind of that counter punch because it was being solicited as a teardown. And so we bring the historian over, and I told her he was an inspector and that he needed to take photos of the house, and they're like, okay, whatever, because I just didn't want, I did not let them know we were writing the landmark submission to protect it.
Yeah.
And again, this is to answer your question, that this was the first effort ever, and it was this completely reconnaissance type. We're just, we're going to do whatever we can. But it really actually made a difference, again, for the house, because we got the Conservancy involved. And that's when they were like, we'll help you write the submission to the landmarking, because they could see we were just this is not what we did, but we were really caring enough, and they didn't have the bandwidth to do it. So we worked together. And then they brought it to like more of a national stage as well. Wow. Architectural Digest got involved. Again, we're really good at just getting a groundswell going and just bringing attention or a spotlight to the topic. And they actually negotiated with the family member because they really did not want to landmark it for resale value. And this is the twisted thing, in my opinion. People have to stop thinking a landmark is not valuable when really it's priceless. You're going to have, if you landmark your property, it's so much more valuable as an asset because it is a collector's piece.
Yeah.
And so when you have something like that, it's really something to be cherished. And if you're not the right person for it, at least, carrying it forward or passing it forward, but here in LA, the dirt is more valuable to a lot of people than any structure sitting on it. And so that's part of the education side where we really try to inform people about the value of good architecture.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
Because I think that now is through your work. I mean, a lot through your work. I feel like that aspect of the value of the architecture is just getting to the forefront. And I think that we have collectors of.
Yeah.
There are people that will buy a house because it is.
It's notable. There's a pedigree, and it is a collector's piece for sure. And there's only so many, of these types of houses. So.
And when you go into those houses, I mean, there's magic. I mean,
absolutely.
Those architects were true artists.
They're legendary, and for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Like masters at what they do. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So I wanna also talk a little bit about your personal style and what you're doing with Rummerfields now. Because I did have a chance to look at your book that you did with Ron.
That is an epic book.
It's fantastic. There's one photo that's in it that I hadn't looked at, like what the copyright date was. And there's one photo that, like, I looked at it, I'm like, this is from 2008, and I could spot it right away. But it's so interesting, like looking into your work and seeing how much you have evolved over time. Right. And so how has what you're doing with like saving architecture and with that connection to the past, how has that influenced where you're going now?
Yeah, I think, when you look at when we started our design office, it was 2004, and there was no Google. There was no social media. Yeah. You had blogging, and just the beginning of internet availabilities, and emailing was obviously a great, bastion of that time, and a newish thing. I was in design school in the 90s, and I got my first email address like halfway through. It was a edu address, like for the university, and it was like the coolest thing. I never used it, like email, like what. And even with texting, like I had a BlackBerry at this time, like loved my BlackBerry. And so when you're talking about a time in LA, especially, this was like a magical time for Ron and I when we had a storefront, which really featured vintage and new, either, a mix of, we do a lot of maximalism, I would say. Mm-hmm. So we did a Hollywood Regency, which was not a new thing. I think a lot of people think Hollywood Regency came about in the 2000s. It's actually obviously the 60s
Yeah.
for Hollywood. And we loved that era, the 70s as well. And, but I'm a big history buff in general. So really it's noting many beautiful eras, whether it's Art Deco or, you know, bringing some of these storylines into a project is really critical to really know how the past informs the future.
Absolutely.
And so during that time, when we did this book, Ron and I would joke that we were like Paris and Nicole. Like, just, it was a simple life was like a big show then.
Yes.
But when you say
Yes.
2008, like there was a time when it was like the salad days. Like, it wasn't with clients. It wasn't like, which one do you want? They're like, I'll take both. Like, it was just like
Yeah.
people would just be, you know, now it's different. Like, oh, let me look on the internet and see how I can get it cheaper. And it's just such a different approach to design. And I feel like Ron and I, or even designers from that generation, our generation, are almost the last bastion of old school interior designers.
Yeah.
Because design has changed so much, and the way people approach design now, it's almost so cheapened and so shallow. When you have an arsenal of resources and understand history, textures, materials, lighting, it all has to be seen in person, and that just takes experience.
Yeah.
And if people are shopping online, just only that, then they're not equipped to actually do a very in-depth, high-level interior design project.
Yeah, I also feel that there's something to be said about how the relationships that are built. There's someone yelling outside.
Welcome to LA.
Koreatown, I love it. No, the relationships that are built through actually like working with a furniture designer directly, and like there's so many people who are
Right.
sourcing everything online,
Yeah.
and it becomes really like isolating.
Yeah, and just kind of linear. Like,
Yes.
like there's no depth to really making something or taking the time. I think everyone's in a big rush too. And on like a big antidepressant, like everything's beige and just, you know, it's like that, enough of that, you know.
Yeah.
It's so that during that time, you know, I have a lot of musician clients, a lot of people who are eccentric. So bold or color, people aren't afraid of that. And that's what I love is, you know, people shouldn't be afraid of mixing it up more.
Yeah. Can I name drop one of your clients?
Sure.
Christina Aguilera.
Yeah.
You did her house.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it's so like I was geeking out on this so much when I was like, you know, researching you and
Right.
your work. Tell me about that process a little bit of working with her and like working with the celebrity client in general, like someone who
Right.
has such a big personality.
Yeah. I think, you know, when you start a design project, like she was really on it. She interviewed probably a number of people, including me and Ron, and took the time to like meet people. Again, like it's nice when you're not in a rush, or at least can respect the process to really make it the right fit. And so we ended up working together on 2 homes. Her first home, as she was buying another, we helped her segue into kind of a much larger, fabulous home because she had just gotten married and was pregnant. And she ended up buying the Osbournes house, which is Ozzy and Sharon's house.
I
That was
didn't know that
on
was
the
theirs.
Osbournes. Yeah.
Oh, no way.
And that was a really, you know, recognizable house because it had been on TV so much. And we pretty much bought it just as is. And Sharon Osbourne, she has really great taste as well. She imported a lot of art glass, stained glass from like churches and windows, and had things put into this house that were all from Europe, all these European details. And so the materials were really nice. It was nicely finished from head to toe. A lot of trompe l'oeil painting in the ceilings, and all this kind of a little bit gothic, obviously,
yeah.
with Ozzy. It's like
I remember
the
from
front
the
door
show.
had a big cross in it, and we kept it all. And so, but then we brought in Christina and her husband Jordan, their flair and vibe too, and it was so fun because we just wrote. It was like how she composes a song, we composed the design and worked really well collaboratively. And it just sang in its own right, like color and textures. She really compared it to Alice in Wonderland because it was just like down this rabbit hole that we would
Yeah.
go with her and come up with all these little details and a lot of custom furniture. And her color story, it was, you know, reds, velvets, pinks. I mean, just kind of so fun. How many clients like to do that? You know, everything had a boudoir feel,
It's
very
very
French,
sexy.
very
Like-
sexy, very her, especially
Yeah.
at the time, you know. And so it was a lot of fun to work with her, and we worked with her on that project for a couple years.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and she's amazing.
So you and Ron have been huge mentors of a lot of designers in LA. You've taken quite a few people, and you know, we started the podcast because I'm obviously old and old school. Elyse is you know young in the industry, and so I'd like you to delve a little bit more in because I do believe in seeing things in person.
Right.
Can you like how you feel and try to transmit that message on how important that is?
I couldn't imagine not seeing something in person that I specify. Actually, I have to see it. You have to do a sit test. You have to kick the tires. I think understanding scale. If you were to look at a picture of something, I mean, these two tables alone are so different, but they may look the same online, and it's, you know, it's 100% invaluable to see something in person.
Yeah.
Even a fabric or a light fixture, when you really look at the materials and the tones and colors, and it has to work as an ensemble to a room. So there's picking, you know, even something off a computer screen would be ludicrous to me. So
Yeah.
when you're talking about the precision of color and how much it matters in a composition of a room, not to mention textures and patterns, scale plays into that so much. And so if you're not looking at it in person, it probably is not going to make as much sense when you see it all together. And that's too late by then. So you don't want to risk that. I think in design, you're always thinking about six steps ahead, anticipating those type of, like, not what can go wrong, but what, you know, I want to avoid any surprises. Let's make sure this is really planned out well. So planning is a big part of interior design, and some people are very good at it and some people wing it a little more, but for me, as a trained eye, you can see the difference for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially like in, you know, we do the podcast in the showroom. And the first time that I ever came here, it was for like one of the parties. I think I may have met you at that one. I think that's where we met for the first time. But walking in, I mean, because before I came here, I obviously like looked up everything that you've done, and I was looking it up online. I'm like, oh, this stuff looks pretty cool. Like that looks really neat. And then actually sitting in it,
Right.
like
Right.
even the dining room chairs or the bar stools, like there is something about sitting in that chair that feels so comfortable that like it's really smart. Like you
Yeah.
can just feel how well designed
Right.
everything is.
And that's not the prototype. See, a lot of people
Yeah.
will make things, and you're literally, if you're commissioned to make something new, which I shy away from nowadays, just from over the years, you've learned, like, if you make something from scratch, that is the prototype, and the prototype is never the final. You know, Laurent will do it 10, 15 times before you're happy with the final. Like, it's tweaking every step of the way. Like, oh, and that's why it sits so well now, because it's that extra effort and care and like precision in the design editing process. Editing is so key to design. Like, if it's not edited or well edited, then it just falls flat or doesn't work at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so amazing. Okay, so we're gonna start to wrap up a little bit, but
Okay.
I have 3 questions.
Yeah.
That I ask all of our guests.
Yeah.
So first one, what is the messiest place in your home?
I would say my kids' rooms are the messiest. It's a constant whirlwind and clean up. Oh, my phone's ringing. But yes, that would be definitely
Okay.
the messiest.
The kids' rooms. How old are your kids?
They're 9 and 13, 2 boys.
Ooh, boys too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
That's,
Exactly.
that makes sense.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Second, what is your favorite place, either in your own home or in a home that you've designed? Like your favorite space that you can think of right
Right.
now.
You know, I did Courtney Love's house. We've done a number of homes with her, and she had this house called La Colina, and it was designed by the architect Gordon Kaufman, and it had imported like fireplace mantles and that were like 10 feet tall. It's huge.
wow.
And she just had this house, the way, again, it was built. It's the same architect who did Greystone Mansion. It was just such this like wonderland of hidden rooms and dark nooks with like timbered ceilings, and they were all stenciled. I mean, it was just harkening back to old Hollywood, and I would just love to sit in that house and spend time there and that's what really stands out to me is those special places that you cannot even recreate them. They are just so unique and magical in their own right. And so I would say that house really stands out to me.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, the last question. I always forget the last question.
It's funny.
Hold on. I have my notes here. My goodness.
I know. I'm afraid. What is it?
Okay, what is the first thing that you notice when you walk into a room or into a home?
Oh, that's a great question. Lighting. If the lighting is right or wrong. And again, side note, I don't judge anyone's home when I'm in their space. Like, it's not about judging.
Yeah.
But as a professional or so, it's the lighting levels, the light tones, where the lighting's located, what type of lighting it is. I think, to me, that's the first impression.
Yeah.
Always is the lighting.
So if you walk into someone's home and they're using like one overhead light.
And it's a really cold LED.
Yeah.
It's really just, it's distracting to me. So,
This
so
fly
yeah.
has been distracting this whole time.
Yeah,
Oh
no.
gosh.
It wants to be the
She wants
star.
to
I
be
know it
the
wants to be the
podcast.
star of the podcast.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
lighting or beautiful lighting and a gorgeous chandelier just really makes an amazing first impression. So
Yeah.
it says a lot.
That's great, actually. I noticed that a lot too. I have like my living room right now. I hated it for a long time in
Yeah.
my apartment. Like I couldn't figure out how to make it work. And then I picked up a couple lamps and I moved them in different areas
Yeah.
of the room.
Yeah.
And now it feels like home.
Yeah.
It's
In fact,
taken
you don't
off,
need
yeah.
a lot of overhead lighting. It is the ambient light, the
Yeah.
lamps and things like that that really.
I'm down to just candles just to make
Oh,
myself,
right.
Oh,
just
yeah.
to make sure that I look good. It's just
Yeah.
candles. No more lights.
I'm with
my,
ya.
My next
I'm with ya.
apartment, no more lights, candles.
No electricity.
No
why?
electricity.
Why bother?
There's
Yes.
no electricity, no mirrors, just candles.
Yes. That's the easy version of interior design right there.
Exactly. I'm like, just painting, 2 candles. We'll go back to.
You're done.
I'm done.
I like it.
You'll always
Simplicity.
look great in the
At least in-
darkness.
At
I
least
guess.
in imagination. As long as no one takes a photo. But even then,
Yeah.
with candles,
Yeah.
I'm
No, it's
good
great.
with I'm
Exactly.
good with
At a distance, yeah.
it. Exactly. I'm like,
It's all
So
good.
lastly, because I'm really fresh and new to this, I'm
Yeah.
learning, and the whole reason why I wanted to have the podcast is to learn from people who've been doing it for a long time. And so if there's one little piece of advice that you would give to me starting off in design, what would it be?
Follow your bliss for sure. If you're into it, go for it. Everyone has a different path. There is no right or wrong. I think the more you can be educated in it, it helps, just like any expert field, whether a doctor is doing brain surgery, they've had a lot of education. So it's like, if you want to be really, if you have a passion for it, then educating, like studying, it doesn't even mean go to school. I went to design school and loved every second of it. Like, could not get enough of it. And it's, and so I don't know why people are against going to design school in a way, because it's always a question, but it's a commitment like anything. And so I would suggest going to design school. But if that's not in the cards, or if that's not the path, it's just usually if there's a passion there, follow it for sure, because not everybody has the skills or the knack for it. So if you feel like you've got it, do it. And the best, the thing that I love about a lot of people who have worked for me that I've seen like their careers just take off is their ambition and their drive and love for this industry. And so it's anyone's game, and it is an art form. And so being creative in this outlet it's a really fun way to, as an extension of that, to show your creativity. So go for it. I think do it. And obviously you need support. There's always, I think the LA design community is super close and open and sharing, and it's important to reach out and embrace that too. So.
Oh, that's great. Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Jamie, you've been a pleasure to have today.
Likewise. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so grateful that you've come in. And
of course.
yeah, I'm sure I'm going to see you again really soon.
I'm sure. At a dinner party very soon.
Yes.
There's one coming up very, very soon.
Yeah. Do you have anything that you're working on right now or that you have coming up that you want everyone to know about?
There's a lot of really exciting things that I'm working on. I have my own design office, which, again, I mentioned I had a business partner, Ron, who's amazing for many years. And we've split. He's now in Portugal and doing really cool stuff in Lisbon and abroad. And I'm here just really enjoying a lot of historic properties that I'm working on in the same mission as Save Iconic Architecture. I'm working with the Beverly Hills Women's Club, which is it's landmark number 3 in Beverly Hills. You have the Beverly Hills Hotel, which is 1, and Robinson Gardens, which is landmark number 2, and this club is number 3. And it's a historic social club, and it's always been around, but a lot of people didn't know a lot about it. I didn't even until I became a member. And we are restoring the entire building. It's this old 1920s Spanish. Really, it almost looks like a big mansion, but it's a community center, and just telling the story of the club. I think with any project, I love just telling a story through design, and this is a great outlet for that. And so we're in the middle of that. And then I'm doing some winery projects like in Napa Valley.
Oh, wow, that's
Yes,
exciting.
yeah. One's a ground up, but then another one's a historic Victorian house that they've added a lot of dwellings to in addition to it. So it's really exciting, beautiful territory. I think that's the amazing thing of California is you have all these different pockets of California from northern to southern that really show a great range of history and the story of this, our own heritage. So, and then of course here in LA, I'm doing a handful of projects, and I always love Palm Springs too. That's a whole nother podcast.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Right?
Will you do anything for the modern show in the fall?
Not the fall one.
Not
We
the
call
fall
that
one.
mini modernism,
Right.
but in February, the big one, we'll be doing some cool stuff. We always do really amazing house tours and events in Palm Springs for
And
modernism.
that will keep you updated on that one, and
Yeah.
maybe we'll do another podcast.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
There.
Oh, let's do it
There.
there.
The
Sounds
last
good.
one was
Sounds
at
good.
Frank
Yeah.
Sinatra's house, so yeah.
Oh,
So
amazing.
Next
Yeah.
podcast in Palm Springs.
You got
Yes.
it. Sounds like a
Perfect.
plan.
Thank you so much, Jamie.
Thank you, guys.
And we're doing lunch now, yeah?
Yes. We
yeah,
have
let's do it.
Beautiful.
well, we have Jamie's favorite salad. So it's the ones that you're during the summer.
Fabulous.
we
I'm
made that.
excited.
Beautiful.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jamie.
Thank you.